I'm Sandra Mathers from the University of Oxford, and welcome to Video 2. So this video is optional if you're thinking of signing up to Talking Time. So you don't have to watch it, but you might find it interesting because it shows some clips of practitioners talking about their experiences of Talking Time. First up, we have Melissa and Fliss from Sheringham Nursery School, and a clip from a short interview that I did with them online, talking about their experiences of the programme. What have you seen as a result of putting Talking Time into practice?
Yeah, so many benefits. Fliss, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think it's been really fascinating to see just how evident it is that children love books and stories, and how much they understand about using books as well. So you can walk into a classroom and the children will have a book and want you to read with them, and particularly if it's a book that they've loved, such as Goodnight Gorilla has been like, the standout favourite. And all of last year, and even beginning since we've been doing it this term, children would just want to come up to with the book. So they knew that if I take this book that I love to an adult, that they will listen to me, that they will engage in an interaction with me, and that I will have this wonderful opportunity to actually have a chat. And I think there's something really powerful about that on so many levels. Like, it's powerful in terms of what it means for literacy and language development, but also the children's kind of motivation and sort of emotional well-being. And it's children that I might not have expected to show that love of books and to have that confidence around language. So it was just really fascinating. And so some of the interactions that you could then have with children who may have been much quieter, more reluctant speakers, maybe there's an additional language, so therefore just kind of that enrichment has just been so obvious to me, and I think that you just cannot underestimate the power of that and the impact of that. So it's been really wonderful to see. And if I'm honest, on a kind of personal, professional level, the opportunity to sit with children and have a chat around a book is like one of the best things you can do as an early years teacher.
Yeah, it's having that time, isn't it? I mean, what is not to love about, that space? And that's really nice to hear that book is representing that thing that the child really wants to happen and is really, really enjoying, that protected space, because it's a signal, isn't it, that you're going to give them that time.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the real challenges in a big predominantly free flow kind of environment. And I think that's the thing that we've reflected on so much, is that prioritizing the timetabling and the implementation of this program with as much fidelity as possible, given all of those constraints and all the kind of tricky elements around it, is so worth it. And I think that we've seen it from quite a rounded perspective. We've delivered some of the sessions ourselves. We understand the research and the benefits, and like Melissa has spent so much time kind of working out the intricacies with like one of our class teachers around the timetabling of it, and that consistent focus on professional development. So as a package, it's really powerful, and I don't think there's ever been anything quite like it. And I think that we have learned so much, and we are learning so much from the entirety of it. So I think that that's something to be really like, we really need to kind of highlight to people the value, because some of those children could get completely lost in a big environment if those adults don't have that protected time. And also the relational kind of the impact on the children's relationships with those adults because of those sessions means that they seek them out, and that just, for some children, that just wouldn't happen with the best will in the world. It just wouldn't happen. And it's too important to be left to chance. So this is why it's so we're so passionate about it.
And it really does impact those relationships. I think for the benefit, you can absolutely see it in the children's confidence levels. Children who would you would start off being very quiet and very withdrawn, very passive, are excelling much quicker during the year with talking time than they were before, just because they're getting that real dedicated time and they're building relationships. And the relationship thing, for a practitioner's point of view, has huge benefits for them professionally, because it allows them to have a deeper understanding of children, because they're having that time where they wouldn't have it. They wouldn't have that protected time. They're really getting to know those children very well, which is supporting them in all areas of learning, not just, you know, their oral language. It's in everything. So it really shifts people's practice, and practitioners end up feeling much more confident about what they know and how to support those children and help them move on. So it leaks out of those sessions. It's not just what happens in that session. And all of those language learning strategies that they're learning for talking time, they are using elsewhere. So we could, if we were coming about it the different way, where we're improving the overall quality of practitioners' interactions, like Fliss was saying, it works really well. But for children who avoid adult interaction, are now outside in the garden and are kind of going round and round on their bike or playing superheroes all day long, for them, they're not going to get the most benefit from that practice, whereas this guarantees that they will, and it really has a big impact. And the school that takes a lot of our children have commented that, you know, the year that we did talking time with Fidelity, and we did it for the whole cohort, they could tell the difference with that cohort. There was a marked difference in their, you know, how they were coming in, how ready they were, you know, their communication language, their confidence.
Thanks, Fliss and Melissa. Now we've got a clip of Jackie from Christopher Hatton Primary School talking about their experiences of the programme and what it looked like in their school.
The books were great. The programme planning and the training were so thorough and easy to follow. Being a small school, there were only 3 members of staff and all 3 of us were trained. And this really helped, because all of the staff working with the children felt empowered and confident to deliver the programme. We also found the visits from our mentor, Teresa, invaluable. She modelled the activities for us. She answered our questions. She made us feel comfortable, put us at ease. And, you know, because sometimes it did feel really challenging, especially at first. And I think sometimes we were just overthinking it. We'd look at it and we'd think, oh, this, that, and she'd come in and go, do you know what you're doing is fine. And she'd talk us through it. So I think having a mentor was invaluable. What it looked like in our school, as I said, the planning provided was easy to use with the different levels of challenge and prompts, as well as ideas for focus activities. Once we'd been doing it for a little while, we found it easier to plan our own activities and maybe take it in a different direction. And we were a lot more confident with our planning. The story conversation sessions were really fun, relaxed, and you had that really special time with the children. It's not often you get that special time to sit in groups. The prompts and guidance helped us to really explore the children's understanding and vocabulary, and really often we found that they went in a different direction than was our original intention. For instance, when we were doing Lulu Loves Flowers, we found that none of our children had come across a shed. When we talked about a shed, they asked us what it was. And this is because most of them don't have a garden, so they've got no use for a shed. So then we went off on a shed hunt, and we actually found that school has loads of sheds. We have a fruit shed, we have a bike shed, we have a storage shed, a literacy, and so we could go around labelling our sheds and talking about what you would use a shed for. And I think this is it. Until you're going into that sort of detail, you're talking to them about it, you don't realise where the gaps are, the language they don't have. Peace at Last, again, was the only book that we knew, but we used it in a totally different way to how we've used it before. Normally when we read that, we talk about environmental sounds, we talk about the sounds that are in that book. But when we used it this time, we were talking about the rooms that Daddy was going into. He walked into a lot of different rooms and what he saw in those rooms. And so we were naming the rooms. We were talking about the rooms we have in our houses and what furniture you have in those rooms. And again, that was interesting to hear the language that they knew and the language that they didn't know, depending on what their living conditions were, where they were living. We moved the activity into our doll's house, but the doll's house wasn't big enough for the amount of children that wanted to play. So then we actually made rooms out of boxes and trays. We labelled the rooms, we had the furniture, and we played the game of putting the furniture into the right room. And that was an activity that continued and was really popular.
Thank you, Jackie. And then the last word goes to Melissa and Fliss again, with a message for practitioners and settings thinking of getting involved in talking time. That you would want to say, particularly to a setting, a maintain setting, a PVI setting, any setting that was thinking of taking talking time on, but was kind of wondering about it a little bit or feeling a bit nervous, like not sure. What would you want to say to them, do you think?
Do it. Just do it. You won't regret it. It's not a quick and easy fix. It's not something that you can just implement easily. It takes work and it takes effort, but it is so worth it. It really does pay off. And the professional development the practitioners receive is just fantastic, and it will change their practice. Yeah. Not just within the session, not just about delivering talking time, but it's about their whole pedagogy, the whole way that they are with children. Yeah. So yeah, highly recommended.